All right, we have reached an off day at Buffalo Bills training camp. Matt Bove, Sal Capaccio joining you from the lobby of Dorsey Hall, where we have lived for the last 3 days. We get a little of a break now, and then we come back for Sunday, day 3. Let's start specifically talking about this third day, and then let's kind of talk about the first 3 days as a whole. Anything stand out particularly from today's practice? We're specifically referencing Friday, in case you were not listening or watching this on actually Friday's practice, day 3.
Yeah, personnel-wise, I would say Dwayne Smoot once again working with the ones, but this time he was moved inside a little bit. He's getting some run with the interior defensive line, which is interesting. Very flexible guy. Cole Bishop working with the ones, but they're rotating him and Mike Edwards, something to watch. On the field, the big takeaway, the defense finally had a bit of a day. It took a while, though. There were 0 interceptions, Matt, thrown by Bills quarterbacks through the first 2 days. And then Josh Allen was so hot through most of the first hour. I mean, he was hitting everything, pinpoint. It was insane. And then bam, bam, bam. 3 passes in a row. The defense intercepted, all for different reasons, but the defense had their turn.
Let's give context. Just because I'm not saying that you didn't, but it does matter because initially you see the blurb, Josh Allen throws 3 interceptions in practice and everybody's like, oh, whatever. It was a third down drill. So you know they were throwing it. The defense knows where they're trying to go. And in this situation, it's not like you were being smart. You were just throwing the ball. Like one of them, I hate the term arm punt, but one of them is just throw it up because it's a third down drill and you see if you can make something happen. The other one was probably pass interference as well. So this is just like situational context. The defense responded in a big way, but it is not like those 3 plays to me wiped out the day from the offense.
The third one was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
Somebody was in the wrong spot. Couldn't tell if it was Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir. Maybe you could have. And Kyler Elam just happened to be there to pick it off. Kind of the way Kyler Elam has made a couple interceptions in his career, right? Just, hey, that's great. He's in the right spot. Someone vacates, and he's just doing what he's coached to do.
Yeah, and I will say, so I thought the defense had the better day in the second half of practice. The 7-on-7 portion to start practice, Josh Allen hit Keon Coleman in the corner of the end zone for a 30-yard touchdown going against Russell Douglas. And then a couple plays later, he hits Khalil Shakir down the sideline for what would have been either a big gain or a touchdown. That was the part where you said they were just really, really hot in the beginning. And that was kind of a continuation of definitely what we saw on day 1 and kind of what we saw on day 2. I would still say after 3 days, the offense has had the better performances than the defense. It's close, though. It's not like, it's not like the offense is dominated or the defense is dominated.
No, I agree with you on that. And without pads on, the offense will always look a little better. Yes, the defense is always ahead of the offense because you can just kind of fly around, make plays. The offense has to have chemistry. But without pads on, the offense will make more plays because you can't hit them. You can't tackle them. When there's a close play, the ball's coming to a guy's hands, defense isn't even going to touch him. We're not going to go near him. So wait till and you can't tackle running back. So they get in the open field. They just keep going. Let's see when pads come on. We don't know if that's going to be Sunday or Monday yet. I think it's one of those days, though.
Yeah, probably. So I think that for the first, let's start. Let me ask you this. Anything else specifically from day 3 that you want to mention before we talk about what we've learned 3 days in?
Ed Oliver continues to look good. He was again, really up front, doing a really good job. And it's the first time in 3 days we've seen Tyler Bass actually kick the ball. Field goals, 6 for 6, I think I counted, anywhere from 23 to 48 yards. They kept going back.
Yeah, they kept going back, but he never had to kick like a deep one. Right. From what at least I saw, it looked like most of them were 48 yards is not a chip shot, but to Tyler Bass, it's pretty close to a chip shot just because he does have such a strong leg. I like that you brought up Ed Oliver. I would also add to that list Greg Rousseau. I thought Greg Rousseau has had a very solid start to camp. I think he is very clearly their number 1 option, and what they are trying to figure out is it going to be Von Miller? Is it going to be AJ Epinesa? Is it going to be Dwayne Smoot in some sort of rotation? Actually, I do want to ask you about the point of him being in the interior as well. I think that matters because I think that almost gives him a lock of making the roster if he can play both.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Remember last year they tried to do that a lot with Greg Rousseau. Maybe they still will, but he was a guy they tried to kick in. The Bills like to do that a lot with their defensive ends. If you have flexibility, you can kick in a little bit. You can do different things. Austin Johnson's the same way, going the other way if they want him to do that. This is just something that happens in football these days because of circumstance of kind of the way that you're defending offenses and they spread the field, and maybe you can get a little bit more of an interior pass rush. So, yes, I agree with you. And especially listening to Bobby Babich, Dwayne Smoot's on this team, and he's going to be a guy they're going to rely on.
That is another thing we need to talk about. We need to talk about specifically Bobby Babich, because we did hear from him today. And somehow this is only the second time we have heard from him since he got the job as defensive coordinator. We heard from him once in the spring and now today, earlier this morning. Was there anything that he said that really stood out to you?
He's just really good. He does answer. Let me think about stood out to me. He said he gives good answers. I like the things that he says. About Matt Milano, it was interesting. He was very, very confident that Matt Milano will be Matt Milano, but he almost used it in a future tense. Like, it's not there yet. Not that he's saying a setback, nothing like that, but it's not there yet. He said, when we get to the season, Matt Milano's going to be Matt Milano. That's not saying he is Matt Milano yet, though.
Yeah, I just think the confidence. I think that he breeds confidence, and I think that that is contagious, especially with, this team that has a lot of turnover. I think that if you're one of the newer players on this roster and you come in and this is the guy who's coaching you, I think that you just want to play for this type of guy. And I think the same thing for the guys who have played for him in years past as a position role. I just think that I just get the sense that I think Bobby Babich is going to be good at this. And this is another more big picture thing. I think he's going to be the one calling plays. I just feel like we're trending in that direction.
I've felt that for quite a while, as you know. I think to me, the writing was on the wall. I still believe this. I could be wrong. When he got the job, knowing he had offers from other teams to leave, but he came back to Buffalo, that signaled to me that, well, he's coming back because I think you'd probably tell him, if you come back here, we'll give you play calling duties. So to me, that's probably what happens, but who knows? We do not have any necessary clarity on that.
Why not just say it then? That's what I want to know.
I'll tell you why. Because, and for right or wrong, Sean McDermott just never wants to paint himself into a corner. He's just that kind of guy. So Matt, here's why. What if he says, you know what? I made a decision. I'm going to call plays. And then all of a sudden he sees, man, Bobby Babich is really good at this. And he decides to let Bobby Babich call plays. He knows there will be a segment of the fan base and media that says, oh, Sean McDermott can't handle everything he's got on his plate, so that's why he's giving it off, which wouldn't be the case necessarily. Let's say the other way around. Let's say he says Bobby Babich is going to call plays. And it's just not quite the right comfort, feel, whatever, maybe nothing bad. And he goes, well, you know what? I think maybe I'll dial it back. I'll do it. Well, now people are going to say, why the heck did you hire Bobby Babich? So to me, he's guarding against painting himself into a corner. And then when it's right, he'll let everybody know this is what we're doing. Now, we both can say, come on, he shouldn't be like that. But we all know that's how he is.
Yeah, I get it. And I get that he's trying to protect both himself and Bobby Babich. Yes. But to me, it doesn't make a difference if you say it at the first moment of training camp, at your first press conference, or if you say it after the second preseason game. I don't think it makes any difference at that point. I think if you wanted to keep it kind of close to the vest for the spring, I at least understand that. But the fact that we're still doing this and we still don't know, just to me, the word I'll use is unnecessary. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, just feels unnecessary.
Yeah, well, listen, I think to me, it's the same thing that's why you don't say like a timeline and injuries, right? Because if it's a little bit off, you have a lot of question to answer, and they don't want to do that. So it feels like that. It feels like it's creating more questions than it is solving them and answering questions. And I understand that, but I think that's the reason. Hey, maybe there really is something to he wants to see it though. Yeah. Maybe it's totally, hey, I think I know what we're going to do, but I still want to see it before I commit to it. I could totally respect that.
Yeah, I think that Bobby Babich. So now we have heard from Bobby Babich, Sean McDermott, Joe Brady. Those have been the three different coaches we have heard from up to this point. We've got a bunch of interviews with several players, and we've done stuff off to the side and whatnot. Let's look big picture for the first 3 days here. Anything stand out? Like, okay, I was not expecting to see this, but here we are.
I'm really liking. Yeah, I would say that. A little bit of the rotation of the secondary that we're seeing, right? Kyrie Elam still working with the ones, Cole Bishop mixing in with the ones. Not that I didn't necessarily look, because they're going to rotate, but kind of right away here, these guys are getting some looks right there, which is interesting. I think the size of the receivers, a couple of different guys today even talked about the catch radius of Keon Coleman. I think Curtis Samuel talked about that. Someone else talking about that earlier. The size of the receivers, like it jumps out at you when you're on the field with these guys. They made a concerted effort to get bigger receivers. These guys have big catch radiuses. It feels like they're building this offense where at times Josh Allen's going to say, just go get it, guy. Yeah. And they're going to come down with it.
I am still curious to see what happens at the wide receiver position, because through the first 3 days of practice, we have seen Keon Coleman with the first team, Curtis Samuel with the first team, Matt Collins with the first team, Chase Claypool with the first team, Khalil Shakir with the first team. Tyrell MVS with the first team, Tyrell Shavers with the first team, KJ Hamler with the first team. There are a lot of different guys that are getting different runs. I still feel like there are 5 guys who are definitely making it: Coleman, Shakir, Samuel, Hollins, MVS. But that 6th guy and potentially 7th guy, I feel like is really up in the air. I think going into camp, I thought it was Chase Claypool's job to lose. I don't know if I feel that same way anymore.
I agree. I was just going to ask you, do you think that Claypool's stock's a little down for you? I think it might be not because of him, but maybe because we're seeing Justin Shorter a little more and Tyrell Shavers, and we're seeing guys start to make some plays and go, "Ooh, wait a minute now." That spot could be up for grabs.
Here's the question: is the skill set too similar to Mac Hollins, who is definitely making the team? And that's not like a definitely yes. And I still think that Chase Claypool has a very good shot. But if you're deciding between that and KJ Hamler, doesn't he bring you an element that nobody else does?
Yes. I just don't know if it's enough of an element. How many times are you going to do it? You put him on the field for, right? Chase Claypool might be able to, or whoever else might be able to do a lot of stuff. So I agree with you. That's going to be a decision. We also don't know what they think about special teams, how they're going to formulate. And we're going to hear from Matthew Smiley on Sunday, by the way. We also don't know, Matt, like what their thought is on how their special teams should look based on the new kickoffs.
Yeah, we don't know that. We also don't know who's going to return for the Bills right now, which is just fascinating to me. That job seems to be between, at least for punts are concerned, Daquan Hardy, probably KJ Hamler, maybe Khalil Shakir. Could Khalil Shakir be the punt returner?
He could, but the Bills don't typically operate that way, like putting a guy back there, unless it's an emergency situation, like when Micah Hyde would go back there to make sure they usually have a guy that's not necessarily a normal, regular player. And so I don't feel like Khalil Shakir would be that guy.
It's tough because it's like, how do you fit Daquan Hardy onto this roster? And how do you fit potentially KJ Hamler onto this roster? So I don't feel any more clarity or feel like we've gotten any more clarity 3 days in, at least as far as the kick return game is concerned.
No, me neither, but we're not going to for a while. Let's wait till preseason. I think that's something we're going to start to see in preseason, what their plan is, what it looks like. Even in training camp and practices, when they go live with pads, they usually don't do full live kickoffs. Now they might this year because not everybody running down the field killing each other, right? Basically. So they might this year, but we generally don't get that. So, we'll see how it looks out there. I'm still, hey man, the biggest thing, we say it all the time, no injuries. So far, knock on wood, just haven't had anything to talk about right there. And that's obviously a really good thing. And if you can get out of here the first session of 3 days saying that, that is a real big win anyway.
Yeah. You look around the league and you're already starting to see them pop up, which just sucks. It sucks before you even get to an actual game. Next week, there will be a football game played. It's the Hall of Fame game. So it's like, okay, well, it's the Hall of Fame game, but we're already talking about that. And what's also crazy is the scrimmage at the stadium is already in a week. It's a week from today. We're recording this on Friday, next Friday. And did you know, I didn't know this. I was talking to Andy Major with the Bills about this earlier today. They're opening up the 300 level. Yeah. Like that is how many people they're expecting. So they have not needed to do that before.
I actually did know that because Pete Gwelly joined Jeremy and Joe on WGR Sports Radio 550 in the morning on Thursday.
That's brand loyalty. It's always a sellback. It's always a sellback. Anything else that you want to talk about? This is just kind of like a quick, hey, let's get you caught up. We still, everybody, have our show Monday night, 7:00 at Barbell East, Barbell on the Bay. So we will be there. I'm really, really excited for that. But we wanted to do something to kind of hold you over until that. These quick little podcasts, hopefully you guys like them. It's just kind of to make sure that we're giving you updates on everything that happens, day to day here, because people can't get enough training camp content.
No, for sure. So we hope everybody listening and watching thinks about and can join us at Barbell East in Rochester, 1129 Empire Boulevard. We're going to start about 7 p.m. Then Matt and I are going to hang around, and we'll be there a little early setting up and everything. And then we'll hang around and have some wings and talk some football.
This is how we're going to end this little quick episode here. MVP 3 days in. Give me your most valuable player. And this is what I'm going to do to make it kind of a little bit more tricky. It can't be Josh Allen.
MVP.
I have one, I
think. MVP. Okay. I'm going to go between. Can I do an offense and a defense?
Sure.
Okay. Think my offense is going to be Mac Hollins.
Okay.
Only because of all the amount of times that people talk. He's valuable. Most valuable. They need him. They want him. They like him. He's made some plays. It's not like he's made every play. I think Curtis Samuel could be in there. Maybe he's your guy, but I'm telling you, everybody talks about Matt Collins, the energy he brings. That's partly why he's MVP. Defense, it's Ed Oliver.
Okay. So for me, offensively, it's Dalton Kincaid, and the way they talk about Matt Collins is, wow, like what a breath of fresh air. He brings so much energy. He brings so much juice. That's all super valuable. The way we have heard about Dalton Kincaid for these 3 first days, like Sean McDermott even went out of the way to say how impressive Sean doesn't do that. So he sung his praises. I mean, we heard when we talked to Dawson Knox yesterday, he was like, the sky is the limit for the guy. Everybody is just so high on Dalton Kincaid. And I don't think there's enough hype, honestly. Like there is in Buffalo, but I was even listening to a fantasy football podcast on a walk this morning, and they were talking about the tight end position. And he's definitely somebody who's in the mix, kind of like in the top 5 of the tight end group. But the way people talk about Sam Laporta and then they talk about Dalton Kincaid is so interesting to me, because I know what Laporta did in his first season, but given the offense and given the vacated targets in Buffalo, I think if it was up to me, I would rather be in Dalton Kincaid's position than in Sam Laporta's, just because of the quarterback and because of all the other guys that are no longer here. So for me, that's the offensive one. Defensively, it's a really interesting one. To me, this is a little bit of like a cop-out answer. It's Matt Milano. It's Matt Milano just because he's back at this point. Like he's practiced every day. There have been no setbacks. The way that Bobby Babich is talking about him, the way his teammates are talking about him, they are very clearly planning on Matt Milano being a full go in 2024. And I think when that happens, the Bills unleash a new level of defense that we didn't see at the end of last season. It's just crazy, like that they played in that Chiefs game last year with no Terrell Bernard, with no Matt Milano. They had a banged up secondary because I think, did Rosswell Douglas play in that game?
Oh, I don't think he did. No, maybe he did, but he wasn't fully back. He didn't play against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's just when you have a healthy defense here, even with the pieces that have left, I still think that, the defense could take a step forward. I'm interested by safety too. I still don't know what they're going to do at safety.
No, real quick. So I should have said Dalton Kincaid. You're right. That's the choice. Matt Collins for the reasons I said, but Dalton Kincaid's been the best player on the field for the offense and maybe overall. I want to touch on Matt Milano real quick because there was a video making the rounds and circulating yesterday about Matt Milano, and there was a little hitch and people were debating if he was still suffering from lingering effects. So today I really specifically watched him, and what you saw in that video that made the rounds, he does a lot. He actually, to me, Matt, it looks like he intentionally does certain things with his legs and his leg after plays, before plays, to kind of work at it, like kind of feel it and just test it out. I don't think he's doing any, I don't think you're watching a video and going, oh my God, something's wrong. I think that's kind of how he's intentionally running or moving his leg to get a little feel for different things. I saw him do it several times today.
I think we have one other thing we need to talk about before we close out, and that is Kim Pegula. Kim Pegula being on the field at the end of practice on Friday. She comes into the huddle with Terry, kind of helps the team break it down, goes off. Now, we can tell you Kim has been here for the last several days, but she has watched practice from a SUV off to the side of the field. Just to see that, I think was pretty powerful for a lot of different reasons. But, just after everything that family and she specifically has gone through, I think to see that moment is just one of those ones that's like bigger than sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And the team, in fact, just a little while ago, the Bills themselves put on their own social media a picture. I didn't see the video. I saw a picture of Josh Allen with Kim and, breaking it down right there. So it's just awesome to see. You're right about that.
All right. So that is Sal Capaccio. I am Matt Beauvais. We are putting a wrap on this episode of the podcast. We will be off for the weekend. Nothing on Saturday, nothing on Sunday. Sal is going to be out here at practice. I'm actually taking an off day on Sunday. We'll be covered by Dom Tibbetts for my colleague at Channel 7. Monday, Barbill East, 7 o'clock. We will see you there for the next episode of It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next week.